Chip's snowmobile. And I knew there was nobody else in the park because we covered it all. We covered it all. I lived in the park for a long time, so, and there's lots of really good stories out of that park. But can everybody hear me if I turn this off? No?
Speak up, son!
Can everybody hear me?
Walk down this way.
No? My dad can't hear me. I know my dad can't hear me. No, I don't like standing behind a microphone or a podium. I have to walk around. So there's so many people here to thank. That was awesome, Joe, awesome. And when I asked Joe if he knew anybody that would be a good candidate, that's what I meant. Do you know anybody? I didn't mean him. Do you know anybody that would be a good fireman? And Joe just automatically thought I meant him. It worked out. Needless to say, it worked out. So, you know, as I look around the room and I see these firefighters, you know, where the rubber meets the road, you know, we as firefighters come up with stories. We don't come up with stories, we made stories, we live stories, okay? As I look around and I see people in this room that I caught on fire. I actually caught on fire, okay? I know there's one here, I don't want to name any names, but he actually...
I think I caught you on fire, Chief.
Oh, yeah, well... Just my ears.
And then you hired him.
Yes. I'm on fire. Yes, you are on fire. Another training fire that we had. So, but, you know, I want to talk a little bit about the people that I work with, starting first with the elected officials. Okay? The elected officials, they really hang themselves out there for the public. Okay? They really do. They have to run. We get hired, and we work a very long time. And elected officials, every 4 years, have to go back out to the public. They're truly hanging their butts out there, and they get beat a lot. Okay, they get beat a lot. They get paid really nothing, all right, and they get beat a lot to try to make our communities better. That's Sagamore, that's Northfield Center, that's any community, okay? Especially Macedonia. We've had some rough years in Macedonia, and I have a lot of sayings that I used to see, and I would take that saying and either write it on a Post-it note or print it out, and I would put it on the back of one of my doors in my office. Jamie, can you hear me? Okay, I want to make sure. I don't want to walk around with a microphone. Okay? So a lot of these, Chip's reading them. A lot of them I have here. And I wanted to just kind of go through some of them as I'm doing my talk, okay? Honestly, I wrote these over 24 years, and I stuck them on my drawers all around my office. I'm not sure whether anybody else knew they were there, okay? And a lot of them, some of them I came up with myself. And when you hear these, you can almost sometimes put faces to some of these sayings, okay? One of my favorites is empty barrels make the most noise, okay? One of my favorite ones, the empty barrel makes the most noise. Lawrence Senstock, he had to go home. He told me once, when you can walk, walk. When you can't walk, you crawl. And when you can't crawl, you call your friends to carry you, okay? These are just little notes that I thought of that I wanted to share with you guys. Nothing you say can lighten the burden. Firefighters, we go on bad calls, a lot of bad calls. And the only thing that pushes that bad call out of your head is what, guys? The next bad call that pushes it out of your head. And sometimes there's nothing that you can say that's going to lighten the burden on those people. Okay? Nothing to say. The firefighters consistently. Can I have the firefighters stand up for a second? Guys, you guys are where the rubber meets the road. You guys are out there, and You know, there's a little saying out there, I know I have it written down there, okay? But your act of bravery's already been done when you become a fireman, okay? New York City Fire Chief said that. When you become a fireman, your act of bravery's already done. Dan Gagliardi once told me, that it's not what we do every day, it's what we're willing to do every day, okay? When we come in and put the uniform on, what we're willing to do on that day. Not every day, but what we're willing to basically do. So, another group of people here that I want to recognize is our dispatchers, okay? We don't go nowhere unless our dispatchers answer that call, okay? Government red tape, all you gotta do is pick up the phone and hit 3 numbers, and one of our dispatchers answers the phone. We have some dispatchers here, they're all sitting they're all from the same island, just like us and police, so they're all over here. If they could stand up, please. Grown men call when they don't know what to do. And these ladies answer the phones, and guys answer the phones. 911, what's your emergency? No yellow tape. Don't even have to punch in a whole phone number, 3 numbers. They answer the call. And then these guys show up, 3 to 4 minutes, $1 million worth of equipment, 4, 5, 6, 7 of us going, what can we do for you? What can we do for you today? Well, I'm having this. My house is on fire, my dryer's smoking, okay? My plastic baby's not breathing. Those calls are out there. And the thing about these firefighters is, that's the 7th call that they've had for today. But they show enough concern for those people. They show enough concern. Listen, these guys go on chest pains and heart attacks and difficulty breathings, 10 a shift. But that's that one time they can make an impression on that person. That might be the only time that person calls 911 in their lifetime. We have a very small window as firefighters to make a huge impression on these people. So they can't act like, this is my 7th call, okay? When these guys go out on calls, these dispatchers answer these calls, I'll tell you, dispatcher, because they don't get to go. We get to go. Okay? We get to go and handle, we get to see the results of when something good happens. Unfortunately, when something bad happens, but the dispatchers, they just take the calls and send us out. Okay? But the firefighters have the chance to make that impression. And these guys consistently, they make me so proud when they go out. Because they care so much. It is amazing. I know they've been on 7 calls already this morning. But to that person, you would never know, you'd never know that they were on 7 calls before and handled exactly the same emergencies. Okay? They're so impressive to me when I go out. Okay? And Joe is one of them. Joe is one of them. I know Doc Spanner is here, and he quizzes us
Too much.
constantly. Too much, as Joe says. Okay?
Whatever, Spanner.
Our medical control doctor holds us to a standard, okay? But he is not a guy that just pushes us out there and holds us to a standard. He's there for our training, okay? He's there for our training to help us. But don't piss him off. Okay? He is a military guy. Hoo-ah. Okay? And don't piss him off. Because I've seen the guys piss him off. Simply because he cares that much about our service to the residents when we go out. Okay? So the guys do. Our police department that is there consistently with us. We have John over here from the police department. Guys are always on every call. They're out there with us. Okay? Putting their butts on the line when it counts. Okay? When it counts. So let me go through a couple more. I didn't write a speech. With failure comes learned knowledge. At the Feast of Egos, everyone leaves hungry. Okay? Some of them are sticking together. This is for the elected officials. One of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is that you end up being governed by your inferiors. Okay? So these people step up to be elected officials. That was written by Plato, one of Brian Ripley's classmates. It's the second time I did. Second time. Okay? Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed people can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has changed the world. Okay? Franklin D. Roosevelt, on retirement speeches, be sincere, be brief, and then be seated. I'm going to ruin that one. I'm not going to do that. So, I think his wife said, what was that? Mean, nasty speed. That's what the world's all about. I think that was Talladega Nights. The best executive is the one who has the sense enough to pick good men to do what he wants done, the self-restraint enough to keep from meddling with them while they're doing it. Okay? That was a big one. That was a big one. Hire the right people, give them the right training, give them the right tools, and stay the hell out of their way while they're doing it. Okay? Very, very important. Some people spend an entire lifetime wondering if they made a difference in the world. The Marines don't have that problem. For you, Dale, retired Marine, they don't have that problem. I'm not a Marine, I was never in the military, but I liked that. I thought that was really, really good. Okay. I wrote this one. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Should listen twice as much as you talk. Okay? I have a letter that was given to me 11 years ago. I'm going to try to make it through. Okay? I'm going to try to make it through, so forgive me. I can cry a little bit. I'm amongst friends. So I'm going to try to get through this. Some people might know who wrote it. It was written by a firefighter that I had just given 5 days off for an incident that he had. Okay? So, he writes me a letter after he has 5 days off, no pay. I'll try to read it. Actually 2 pages, not written in crayon. It's typed out. Given the magnitude of the accident, I felt more was needed from me than just, I'm sorry. I realized that no one was injured or killed in this, and the monetary loss was far less than anybody expected. Having said that, I acknowledge that the mistake that I made was huge. I was very lucky, and I'm very fortunate. I once thought that I was above making such a mistake. Not because I'm arrogant, but because I previously thought a mistake like that was inconceivable. I hold myself to a higher standard personally, and I still am baffled at my complacency that day. And I'm reading you this just to show you the character of the firefighters, of my firefighters. I am not going to beat myself up about it, and I'm not seeking sympathy. I'm a big boy, and I will move on learning from this unfortunate occurrence. I'll turn this into a positive. I will become a better person, firefighter, paramedic, and leader on this department. There are a few points I want to reiterate. I'm so very sorry, not only for the accident itself, but also for the repercussions that follow. I love this job. I love this fire department. I love the city of Macedonia. This was after I gave him 5 days off. Not before, after. Okay? I know how corny it all sounds, but I cannot help it. I was born and raised in this area. I know everybody intimately. I have the best job in the world, hands down. and I work in my hometown with good friends. I hate to think of the black eye given to this fire department because of my carelessness. I am sorry for any obstacles or hurdles I created for you as fire chief. Finally, I want to stress to you that I, and I alone, am responsible for this incident. I take full ownership for this accident. Somebody was sitting in his office. I gotta take the names out to protect the guilty. Okay? He is very capable and competent. He should not have to babysit me. So-and-so was completing truck checks with me. He just went inside the building for a moment. I know that you are aware of the guilt I feel making a mistake that involves the rest of the shift. Their names and reputation shouldn't suffer due to my complacency. I'm not implying that you are finger pointing or judging me again. I just need to voice my concerns. One last thing I want to tell you is how much I appreciate your friendship. You do such a great job as fire chief, but even a greater job as friend. As I type this and read it over, I know that words do not begin to describe my feelings. Tim, tell me how many other chiefs or department heads or supervisors hug their employees and reassure them when a mistake this big is made. Honestly, this is a huge testament. This letter is not about me, okay? But it ends. Even though you held the title of fire chief and are a firefighter, you are a firefighter at heart, only separated by title. Most of all, you're a good friend, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. It says backside. I threw it at. It's just a fact, and I thank you. Okay? As I was going through my files, I was blown away by that. Okay? There's a firefighter that made a mistake, was disciplined, and had 5 days off, and he writes me a letter like that. Okay? I won't name him. He's here tonight.
Made YouTube.
Huh?
Made YouTube.
Harry Truman, there are 100 people who can do this job better, but it is mine to do. It was important to me. Okay? Very important to me. As we were going through pictures today to put them up here, there was a lot of people that were in the pictures that aren't here today. Okay? And I just wanted to recognize a lot of them. Okay? Especially the firefighters that are no longer here. Dan Gagliardi. Okay? Hall of Fouls. Guys are going to work.
You said his name, it was your fault.
One thing constant, calls. They never stop, no matter what's happening. At all. Brian Guzik, Mary Hedgedis. Okay? People that I worked with for a long time. I know there's people here in the room that know them. Joan Craddock, my secretary that passed away. These are people that carried the torch and worked with us for a very long time. Am I missing anybody? Jim Popovich worked with us for a long time. These people made impressions. The city employees that are here. I understand that this is my night and my retirement, but there was so many people that played a role. So many mentors as I look around here and I see mentors that I literally called last week and asked their opinion of stuff. Some of you might not even know that I called and asked your opinion of stuff. But I called on my mentors for help throughout my career. So everybody in this room, if I was in any way successful, it's because of everybody in this room. Okay? In some way helped the city along, myself along hugely. Hugely, as I look around the room, that people helped me along my way. Okay? I want to thank my family, my family that's here. My cousin Matthew came in from Pennsylvania, brought my favorite aunt, my Aunt Barb. Makes pumpkin roll. Pumpkin roll, my favorite Jell-O. That's ground up meat that I love. And those pickled eggs that used to turn Dan Gagliardi green in the fire department. Pickled eggs, I used to have to keep them in the fridge and sneak one, and Dan would know as soon as I pulled one out. Dan hated pickled eggs. Okay? You have to understand, we learned, some few of us that were here learned from people like Carl Stewart, Ellis Goldman, Jim Cross. Okay? These guys were military guys on battleships during World War II and Korea. So listen, if you're going to learn firefighting, learn it from somebody that's on a ship. Because you put the fire out, or you sink. Literally. You put the fire out or you sink. So there is no backing out, because you don't back out of a ship. Okay? Those guys taught us tons. The great generation taught us tons. And they eventually handed the torch off to us. The only reason why we were trusted by our public is because what they did. That was it. Because what they built with our public. Firefighters are very, very trusted people, along with the police. Very trusted people. And they earned it. And they keep earning it. So we have to carry the torch for so long and try to mentor the people coming after us so that we can hand that torch off to them. Okay? And they can go and keep going. Until they can then hand that torch off and keep that same respect. So, going back to my family, okay? I have my son Michael here. Miracle Mike. Yeah. Let me tell you, Miracle Mike. Miracle Mike was about 4 days, then the miracle was all Michael. Okay? All Michael. He was the one that sat in rehabilitation and worked and worked and worked his way back to where he is. Okay? God started it with his miracle. I'll tell you a little story how that name was come up with, Miracle Mike. So we all know Michael was in a bad motorcycle crash. He reminds us every day he didn't crash, he was run over. He had nothing to do with it, which he was. Michael gets life flighted down, goes in for his surgeries, and the first night, doctor comes in and says, call the family in, your son's not going to make it. We called the family in. Next day, Michael's still there. Next day comes, doctor comes in, says Michael's not going to make it through the night. Okay? My wife, Mary's a basket case. Basket case. Driving down to Akron, she's on the floor, in the back seat, on the dash, on the ceiling. Basket case. Obviously, this was her son. Okay? Third night, doctor comes in, says, call in the family. That's when the basket case became Superwoman. She looked at the doctor, said, you can leave. And the doctor said, are you throwing me out of the hospital? She goes, no, I'm throwing you out of my son's room. You've been wrong twice. And Michael will be here tomorrow morning. And Michael was there the next morning. And from then on, my wife was the strongest person I've ever seen with everybody through. 2 weeks later, Michael's still there. The doctor calls. Nurse comes in and asks for me. I come out. It's the doctor. She said, is Mary there? And she actually left the hospital, but I think she was still there. And I said, yes. She said, can I talk to her? And I put Mary on the phone, and she said, she's the one that coined Miracle Mike. She goes, looks like we're going to have to do some surgeries on Miracle Mike. And they made up after that, and everything was good. Okay. My father-in-law came in to pray for Michael. I don't know how many people know my father-in-law. He's since passed. But when he came in, he prayed. He prayed. He was a very, very religious person, very strong in his convictions. So they said, I said, can a prayer group come in and pray with Michael? They had no idea what they were in for, okay? Because he came in, and at first he asked the Lord to heal Michael. Then he demanded that the Lord heal Michael. And then the door started shutting, okay? Our door to the hospital closed, okay? And then he demanded from the Lord that Michael be healed. And he commanded and ordered the devil out of the room. And then all the other hospital doors closed to all the other rooms because it was getting louder and louder and louder. Until when we went to open the door, there was towels laid on the bottom of the door. Okay? Huge. So I see where Mary gets her strength. And George has since passed 60 years with my mother-in-law Lois, and I also see now how she's carrying on with her life, with George's passing, and I see where this strength comes from, okay, from my family. My mom and dad, 60 years married.
Wow.
These are the examples that I grew up with, 60 years. My in-laws, my parents, 60 years. My dad once told me, and I know I said this before at the council meeting, never plan on dying, plan on living. So that's something I didn't have to write down. I kind of remembered that one. So my parents raising me in their strong convictions as far as what I tried to do with the city. And my sister-in-law Francine, my son Jesse, over here in the corner, surprised me. Coming home from the military, he's at Fort Bliss in El Paso with his wife Katrina, and they came home and surprised me on Friday. I came in, they said, Michael's on the couch, he doesn't feel good. I know my kid's apart, but I had to find something else. And they did such a good job. There was no shoes, there was no keys. So I started walking around the house until I saw their luggage, and then I came back and knew that it was him. He just promoted to sergeant in the Army.
Thank you, Jesse.
Jesse at 17 wanted to join the Army. I told him, I'm not signing for you to join the Army. It's going to be 100% your decision. 100% your decision. The day he got his diploma, he came home, said, I leave in a little bit. And I said, where are you going? Yeah, I'm going to the Army. I said, we didn't even discuss it. He said, nope. A year ago you said it was not your decision. It's my decision. So off he went to 4 years. Then he listened to me and came back and went to college. After 2 years of going to college here, he came to me and he says, Dad, college is not for me. And I immediately said, when you leaving? He said, next week. Okay? Next week, he's going back. He's going to find his special purpose, hopefully, in the military. Right now, he's running a paladin, okay, down in El Paso. So, not listening to Franklin there very much, Delano Rosenau, to be sincere, be brief, and then be seated. I wanted to thank my right-hand man, Captain Brian Ripley, now acting chief. We have worked together for a long, long time, very long time, along with my other officers that are here. Okay? Brian's been on the department since 1978.
Wow.
78, okay, as a cadet. We got several cadets. Ed Marax, who was here, 77, okay, long time. Hired his first pay was in 81, which means he worked from 78 to 81. Not paid, okay, not paid. His picture's right here. This is one of the first pictures. You want to come up? It is blurry because it's old. That's me on the top of a truck, Paula Fowles, Skip Gerstenberger, Carl Stewart, and that's Brian right there, trying to extricate this guy out of this truck. He didn't have his gear on, by the way. No gear on. That's kind of the way we did it. Ed, I had my red ball gloves on. Red ball gloves. Okay. So I want to thank him for being my right-hand person. And when I say I want to leave the department in better hands, okay, it's in better hands. Rest assured, these guys are going to carry on the department. One more person that I want to thank, after thanking my family, I don't think I missed anybody.
Susan.
Susan, where's Susan? My sister, sorry, where's she at? Not in front of me. Way in the back. Derek, Susan, Vegas, Diesel, in the back. Live right up the street from me now. Close neighbors. I would like to thank the Reinekers for constant support. Constant support. Constant support to me, to my family, to the fire department. Mrs. Reinecker.
I'm not doing Jaeger.
Tower of power.
We always did Jaeger with Mrs. Reinecker.
Oh my God. That's the end of
They
my
have a
phone.
picture in the back, and